Get started. So welcome everyone. Let's go with the current topics for today. One is how much effort do we need to invest to have a new solver available in advices, to other devices. So this was from last time. We had discussed few of these details last time, and there were three parts in which we divided, like how much human effort is needed to get the solver in places, and then how much time does the cluster itself requires so that it can sync all the solver uh, information into the databases. And that's about it. And then how can we get that into production? There was one additional thing which was added, that we need to see how much length can the PostgreSQL take in terms of auto increment, because we are going to do some purging and inclusion. So how does that take place? Let's take this one by one. So from the human efforts, like last time, Gregory, you had tried it. How much do you feel like, as a newcomer, how much time did you feel it takes to understand the flow of getting a solver in place to for the cluster to start working?
Yeah, I didn't think it took that long. I think there was more than is immediately, I guess, transparent to a person who's new to the project, but I think it took about a few days, something like that. Maybe a week at most, but yeah.
So can you just state like what would be an issue like which someone can face while getting this across? Like what was the hardship you faced?
Yeah, I think it's just visibility into like all the different pieces. Like after you implement the solver, like identifying all the RPMs that work for that and making that clearly known to our users. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like tracking between all the pieces.
So any other
But that,
thoughts?
yeah, sorry, Gregory, that sounds like we need to update the documentation a little bit, or is it a matter of experience?
I think the documentation would probably help having that in one place to like look for, but I think it's also a matter of experience. If you have that experience, you wouldn't need that documentation in that instance, but making it just plainly known to someone who's new would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, you're right. That second part of my question was irrelevant, because we need that documentation. We shouldn't assume that experience in a human brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was one thing that could simplify creating new solvers, and there is like hackish implementation that creates patch for S2I, right? And Lumir, I think Lumir from the platform team suggested to create own assemble script or run. Is it assemble or run? I don't know.
I think it's assemble.
So create own assemble script and just copy it. So we don't need to maintain that patch file. I think there was an issue for that, and it also simplifies when there's something new in the assemble file. Like if platform people create something new in assemble file, we don't need to adjust the patch file. It's like not very intuitive and error prone. I will try to look up the issue.
Any other information on this?
A quick question on this. So based on that, are we ready to add new solvers like by tomorrow? Let's say I'm just making up a case, or how disruptive would be to add a new solver, let's say.
Good question. I think we are ready to introduce new solvers like we do time to time. It's the more important question is, when should we do it? Like as soon as we get the information of a new operating system or new requirements from a user who is willing to use these things in advices, that's the time we actually work on it. So we are ready to have new solvers. It's just the matter of when should we do it. So that's why we get it into that part of holding it for some time, because we are not sure if the customer or the people are actually going to use it. So that's why we wait. At least that's my understanding. Does that answer the question, or
Yeah, it did. I mean, so basically the summary would be based on demand, we are ready, right? So
yes? Yeah. Also, with time to time, we do it ourselves. Like Fedora one came up with us. Like it's not someone asked for it, just like it was new. It would be used by customers, so we took the preemptive move to do it. Uh, yeah. So it depends. Like how we keep on tracking this, but if someone says they need an older version, that would be some time we'll spend to get that.
I was thinking two potential demands coming soon might be RHEL 9, and last week we discussed that feedback from the TensorFlow build-seq, where they seem to be mostly Ubuntu based, and it might, an outcome of this might be a demand to have a solver for a relevant environment, let's say. So that's what I had in mind.
Yeah, great point. Think that these are the things which like you're aware of RHEL 9. So maybe this is something which is great for the team, right? Because you're aware of it and you brought it to the team. So now we can create it. I think that's how it happened earlier. Like Fido had known that there was Fedora, so he created the Fedora one. I think it's just a team effort. So just moving along with the CPU time needed. So last time I had stated that it takes about 4 weeks or 4 to 5 weeks. So that we don't have it in metrics. So I kept it in, or it would be one of the parts in this current quarter to get that metrics into place so that we can view it in a dashboard so that we can see how much actually the solver took in place. This is from the experience of past experience, how much time we took, but we don't have a metric to state it right. And right now, if you say, show me the metric, that's the reason I'm saying we have stated it so we can create a dashboard just to get this in place.
So it's on the PSI stage cluster where we generated that information, and ingestion itself is not taking that long. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is the ingestion time. This is the ingestion time. The CPU
Okay.
requirement is the ingestion time.
I think we should have this metric.
It should.
Though.
Okay, so
Send
then
you-
I'm not aware of it, sorry.
I've sent it in the chat. I think there was like estimation how many days required
yeah.
to solve.
I think so too.
Oh, so it's in Thoth SLI solo. I was looking at
Yes.
the wrong place. So this is good. We have this information.
Well, it's not good because it's 1,200 days. But as CPUs, the limiting factor, that should be in our minds, right? So if you're going to throw 50 million CPUs at it, maybe we can cut it down.
It was a test environment, like, or
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
test.
But I think the general statement is correct, right? The limiting factor here is CPU time. So it is a trivial computer science problem. Throw more CPU at it, because then we can run more workflows, then we can run more pods, then we can solve faster, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And yes, on PSI or not doesn't really matter. Yes, okay.
About this one, I think we would have to still check like how this auto increment works, because I've checked it last time. The big int has a like it has a lot of value, so we can try it out. But I guess this requires more testing. That's all. Sure. Should we put it as an action item to like a spike to check this out?
Yes.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on this topic?
Yes. If we're going to take 1200 days, how many packages was that? It was all the packages we knew about for one distribution, right? For one distribution plus Python interpreter version, correct? So it's about how many?
How many packages?
Hmm.
I think it would be in some triple-digit thousand. So
Hmm.
So if you plug solver, then all the packages that were solved for previous environments are solved with the new solver. There's no mechanism to state do not solve these packages for this solver. Like plug solver, and solver automatically solves all the packages based on what's available in the database.
Right. But you can't
there is-
remember.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, because that was another.
Yeah. You can't remember for what amount of packages that 1200 was.
It's in metrics. Like you can, in metrics, you can see
Yeah.
how many packages Thoth knows, and also how many packages Thoth knows specifically for the runtime environment, like solved packages runtime. And that comes to another thing, like to keep Thoth alive and prevent from interesting packages that are not, let's say, relevant for the community. There are solver rules, right? So in solver rule, you can say Thoth does not solve these packages at all.
Mhm.
Right now, solver rules are configured for packages like Thoth does not ingest data for packages that are older than 2016. There are some exceptions, but given the size of PyPI and that packages go, like there are new releases, right, exponentially, it might be good to also revisit over time and say, okay, we support packages that were released after 2017, right? You know that there is that configuration. I think Hashard, you touched it, the JSON file.
yes, we did it exclusively for some of the customers as well. Yeah, one of the one for ODH and based on that. Any more details or anything to add to this topic? So,
I think I put the new metrics dashboard in there because the one from the issue linked is not working anymore, but it feels slow. Either, well, it just takes a lot of time to display the data. But I think that is the current dashboard. Cool. I'm quiet now. Now. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.
thanks, Christoph. See you. Awesome. So, if nothing else, I've added the action item and I'll convert them into issues. Awesome. So moving on to the next one. It's from Dominic. I don't see him here. Does anyone wants to take this over, or should we just move it for the next time?
I saw him in the office, like he came just recently.
Okay, so I'll push it back then. I will wait till the end. If he joins, then we can get to this again. Awesome. So moving on to the next one, it's multiple SIGs and labels on issues. Let's revisit this. So yeah, Pep.
Yeah, it's a follow-up on a discussion, and apologies in advance for that, but I couldn't attend that meeting. I was on PTO that day, and I saw it in the notes that there was this discussion of should issues be allowed to have multiple SIG labels, and the outcome of the discussion was that yes, they should. And I wanted to bring that back because I believe they shouldn't. So that's the point I wanted to raise. To me, and my understanding, and by the way, let me link. I should have linked some background documentation on. So we follow. I'll add a link in a moment, but we follow the SIG idea from the Kubernetes community, and the idea there is that SIG's own code by SIG, let's say by area of interest, and something belongs to one SIG. Something that belongs to one SIG does not belong to another one. So any issue that relates to the kubelet does not relate to the API, and there is one and only one SIG per issue. So that's what I wanted to bring here. The idea behind this is this idea of ownership, and meaning that the SIG who owns the issue would be responsible for whatever happens to the issue, like triaging it, prioritizing it, implementing it. Can be delegated later, and it can be other SIGs can be, or anyone actually, SIG or no SIG, can be interested in an issue, but who is behind it? So who is the owner, let's say, or responsible group of behind that? And that would be the SIG, and there should be one. That's what I wanted to bring. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So I have a little opinion on this. So what I've noticed from this whole discussion is we are doing everything on Git, so that's open and it can be viewable. It is like kind of viewable by everyone, right? So if we are stating that one issue is just related to one SIG, and then how are we going to decide it? Who is going to take it? Does the SIG, all the SIGs will come up to that issue and discuss. So this seems to be a DevOps one. So let's pull this into DevOps. But maybe then the observability team SIG might feel, oh, this also belongs to observability. So how do we achieve this? Like, how do we discuss, like, who would take the ownership of it? That's something which I wasn't sure. Then I noticed, if that's the case, if we say there is only one SIG, then why are we adding label and also the project? Why are we doing both of them? What's the point of it? I mean, if I've added project, it already signifies then it's for one SIG. So that's the reason I thought like maybe having projects and labels is something where we can distribute that multiple SIGs are interested on this issue, but this is the SIG which will work on it. So it could be defined by either project or the label. That's why I thought it should be a topic to discuss. So that's how I was seeing it.
So about the first question about deciding which one, the way they do it in Kubernetes is repo ownership, and it's also quite strict. There is, each repo belongs to one SIG, period. Therefore, there is almost no doubt, or it's very straightforward to decide. And actually, Proud can do this. Basically, you add the labels on the owner's file, and every new issue that comes to that repo automatically gets assigned to the relevant SIG. Because there is no, it's automatic, right? This came here to that repo, and therefore this belongs to this SIG. In the Thoth organization, we it's possible to do this on a few repos that clearly, belong to like I don't know, advisor belongs to SIG stack guidance, obviously, right? It's less obvious on some other repos that are more generic, like core or support, for example, right? We don't have, let's say we don't have full coverage, and we discussed this, which SIGs should we have, and we explicitly decided not to have a SIG for everything, so not bringing back that discussion, but so it's still open for some cases, and this is, I would say, the way to resolve that would be the issue refinement sessions when something is not clear. I mean, sometimes an issue may come up in support that is also obvious that it belongs to, like if a bug comes in the support repo that is about SIG stack guidance, well, then it should be easy to assign to SIG stack guidance. But if there is a doubt of a new feature request that might involve multiple SIGs, then this is where the refinement session helps. We discuss if needed. So if it's not clear, we bring it there and we decide. But then the point is we should decide this is for one SIG. And then the SIG drives it forward. That's for the first thing. The projects are kind of independent to this, and it's a tool. The project is a tool for SIGs to help them plan. There is no strict guidance here, I would say, unlike the SIG situation where there is, like, I would say, more strict guidance that an issue should only belong to one SIG. Projects are meant to be helpful. If they are not, then they are meant to be helpful to plan work and track progress of the work for SIGs, and SIG stack guidance might be interested in tracking issues that are not SIG stack guidance and may want to add issues in the SIG stack guidance project that are not driven by them, for example. So I see this is kind of not necessarily a problem, I would say.
I see. So yeah, for me, it works out that if we use only one SIG, and that's what we signify in the issue, that they would be taking care of it, I'm happy with it. About the labels, I've just seen in past that there were few labels added saying SIG user experience, SIG stack guidance, SIG DevSecOps, and that's where my confusion came up. So now, like if we can state that we are going to say that one SIG will only take care of the ownership of that issue, then that confusion doesn't exist. So if that's okay with everyone, we can go with that.
By the way, PRAO should not allow. There is a PRAO upstream bug/RFE where you shouldn't be able to have multiple SIGs. You shouldn't be able to have multiple priorities in terms of labels, right? It's a known issue. So you could argue, why does PRAO allow multiple SIGs? Well, it also allows multiple priorities. And the answer is some labels might be, so some, I don't know, area/something labels can be duplicate, for example, and some others cannot. So that's why there is no strict enforcement, of this at the PRAO level. Does anyone have a problem with this, or make sense? No?
I don't have a problem. I feel this is good. I mean, if we are going to add only one sig, then it clarifies all my confusion. So just last question from this point. Uh, as a SIG owner, would it be a chair's responsibility to look through issues of their non like if it's not from their own owner repository? So for example, if someone is from Stack Guidance, do they have to look at the support repository and like on the refinement day talk about it?
That's another question, and yeah, I encourage everyone to help. I try, but I'm also behind a bit myself. I try to go to the support repo and do triaging and assign to SIGs. To complete the background, so in Kubernetes, it's at most one SIG, but at least one SIG. So there should be, again, there is like 100% coverage of mapping, let's say, of repos to SIGs. For the ones that we don't have at the moment, so I don't know, we need to organize. And for now, I believe Christoph is going through Triage Party. I also go there as often as I can. But if everyone can, you are more than welcome. And by all means, if you see something, of course, if something is wrong, fix it, and if something is missing, add it.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pep. If no one has any objection, I think this would be it. So if I don't see any objection in 2 more seconds, I'll move to the next topic. So see no objections. Thanks, Pep. This is helpful. So we have decided on these things going forward. Should we move to the next topic then? Awesome. So this is something from me. So earlier we have our current test cluster in PSI, which is behind VPN. There is another test cluster which we started to have on the RIG cluster operate first, but the cluster had a lot of issues. So at time to time, people really couldn't access it or use it properly when it was in place. So it has been off for some time, and people have been using the PSI one. So from the DevOps perspective, I don't know, do anyone wants a new test cluster and operate first? Because it is a little work from the DevOps team to keep it to maintain it. That's the reason I want to first check if anyone is going to use it. If not, then I don't see to deploy it right now. So do anyone see in forthcoming future of a use for public cluster in testing? Let me know.
I saw an issue, Frida, you raised an issue like an hour ago about the problem with the test cluster. So
Sorry, that's not related to the cluster itself. It's missing template in deployment. So it shouldn't affect test cluster. Like it's a matter of adding template to OpenShift.
So the previous RIG cluster, I remember Dominic was using it. Was anyone else trying to use it and faced troubles and gave up? And if we bring up a new cluster, will you still try to use it? Or actually it's not going to be used at all? That's what I want to know.
Is it going to be a replacement, like a new cluster, and have
Yeah.
it replacements of the old OCP4 test is the question.
So the OCP4, we are not sure if we should decommission it because we haven't used the new cluster in the operate first. So once we use it and everyone can give their thumbs up that it's working well for them, that would be the time then where we can give up the PSI and actually move it to the public cluster. So yeah, that's what I want to know. Like if the PSI is working well, then we can stay there, but I'm just not sure. I mean, if no one is, sorry. Yeah, if no one is aware, if no one is right now sure, then as Fido said, we can try, we can deploy it and use.
I was just asking not to maintain to test environment, right? It can be.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's the reason I opened this because it becomes a little difficult to maintain both of them. But I'm not sure what's the right answer here is to have them or not. So for now, I'll remove it from the cluster. And if some use case comes up where we actually need it, then we can deploy it again.
I think, and just a question, I'm not using it, but I think one of the things that we're ongoing were the integration tests. I'm talking from memory, but the initial priority was to make them work on stage, but moving forward, don't we also want to make sure that they work on test as a first place where integration should keep working? I'm just asking.
I'm not sure on the test one because test one can be modified by any of us. So it becomes difficult to maintain because I don't know what someone is changing. So I, in the sense, means DevSecOps team might not know which person is changing what in test cluster. So I wasn't aware if we are going for to maintain the test as so pristine as stage. But yes, for stage, yes, because that's where I see stage should be all green. So that our production is always green. Uh, yeah, I mean that's how I see it.
There's also another thing, and that is runtime environment that is supported in test. It uses UBI 8, Python 3.6, and some test cases require UBI 8, Python 3.8, maybe also Fedora, so it might require to, if you would like to see greenish tests for the test environment, it might require updating the database and having more fresh data in test environment. This was something we postponed because of persistent volume size, right? Or something like that.
Yes. So would like your +1 or not on this one? Like if we get it, will someone use it? Or that's something if someone can give their +1 or -1, based on that we can discuss and go forward with.
I abstain. I'm not using it, but I'm not against it personally. So
So is everyone abstaining from the vote as of today? Okay, so that means yes, I guess. So there's only 1+1. So I think Gustav wants, but let's see. I'll check on this and get back to you, the team, soon. Thanks everyone. I don't see any more topics. If anyone wants to add any new topics, let us know. As of now, think we will be reaching the time in next 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions. Awesome. Not then. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you in the next Tech Talk.
Thank you.